Welcome back, everyone. This is another episode of Strange Planet, and it's been a very interesting week in news and in general this week. I guess to start off, I'm sure most of you have heard about that Titan, as they call it, the Titan ship that was supposed to give a little cruise underwater to go look at the Titanic. And things did not go too well, and apparently it's missing. So this is scary as it is kind of stupid. I believe, Rook, you and Mark have some more information on this, correct?
All right, so here's a story about a vessel that's going on a 3-hour tour. On Sunday morning is when they went on this original trip to the Titanic. They were supposed to drop to a depth of about 12,000 feet underwater. And about 45 minutes into the journey, all contact is lost. So since Sunday, they have not been heard from. Now, the thing is, they're so deep down there, there's not many vessels that can go down there. I know that there is some kind of claw on a boat that they can do that could reach that far. The only problem is, if you've ever played the claw games in like arcades and stuff, this is like doing that blindfolded.
Yeah, for real.
You don't even know what you're trying to dig for. So that's the current situation. Now, they had 4 days of air in the vessel originally to start. They're about 12 hours or less at this point when we're recording this.
Wow. Yeah, because I was just going to say, it's cutting it close right now.
Aboard this mighty ship is 5 passengers. The CEO and founder of Ocean Gate Expeditions, which I think is what this vessel is from. So the CEO of the company of the vessel is on the boat, as well as a British billionaire, a renowned French diver, a Pakistani businessman, and his 19-year-old son. And assuming that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's 5 people. I'm assuming the CEO is driving the boat.
That's just really sad. So,
yeah, I mean,
they showed an interview with the CEO, and he was quoted as, I don't have the exact quote, but he was saying, I want to be remembered for, my engineering or unique engineering. And, I don't play by the rules, and, I may have broken some rules, but I just hope I'll be remembered for, my engineering. And it's like, well, that's going to come back to haunt you.
I don't think he's going to be remembered for that. I have a feeling he's going to be remembered for something a lot darker than that. Like that's
for faulty engineering,
basically killing 5 people, possibly.
I mean, it's just a sad situation, because if you had to pick a way to die, would you pick, slowly, suffocating in a small fucking metal object at the bottom of the ocean with like 4 other dudes? That's not how I would choose to go out. I could think of like maybe 1,000 other ways that I'd rather go out than that.
The crazy thing is, they probably won't die. They will probably die of thirst before they die of no air. Because the rules of 3 hours, 3 minutes, 3 days, 3 weeks. The 3 days is the water one. So you can't go 3 days without water. So unless there's any water on that boat, even though they're surrounded by a shit ton of it, they'll probably die of thirst before they die of fucking...
Yeah, well, you don't know what kind of, like, provisions they had on there. They probably had enough,
supplies.
I would guess.
You would hope, yeah.
Once things went wrong, because I think they went wrong pretty quickly. Yes. About an hour and a half, they lost contact with them. So I think whatever provisions they had on board, they were probably, rationed appropriately.
Yeah, but it was only supposed to be for like maybe 6 hours at most.
Right.
Go down, view it a little bit, and come back up.
They've been down there.
They've been down there like 3 days now, so really got to stretch those fucking
Right, but you figure
Kevin Costner
I don't know. You figure like you load up like a whole pack of like waters or something. Like, I mean, you'd hope that you'd bring something like that.
I mean, you would think out of precaution, this is possibly a result of too much money as well. Some of these billionaires and millionaires lose their fucking mind, and now possibly their lives for doing shit like this. But this is a scary situation. And the only other thing I was going to add to it was, I mean, they're probably already on this, but you would think they'd be sending maybe some kind of underwater drones down there or something to search for them or find them in some way.
They have, robotics that they can send down there, and they have planes scanning, and they have sonar, and they're using whatever technology they have to try to find them. And eventually they might, but the question is whether they'll find them in time.
That's the $1 million question, really. And I hate to say it, it's getting closer and closer as the days move on here. Like, this is a messed up situation. But the one thing is, too, it was supposed to just go around the ship, right? They were just taking a tour of the Titanic. So you would think, I mean, depending upon who knows really the case here, but it could have really only drifted so far if it didn't have any power. You know what I mean? Unless it bottomed out at the bottom of the ocean. But like, you would think it probably didn't drift too far. Like, I don't know how fast the unit went or like any of the specs on the actual, I'm not even going to call it a submarine, but whatever the hell it was that they were in. You know what I mean? The only thing I will add to it is we hope that they are going to, one, be found, and we do hope that they survive this. That's a mess of a situation there. And like you were saying, whoever that millionaire or billionaire was that came up with this is not going to be remembered for his engineering.
Well, I don't know if he was a millionaire or billionaire. I mean, he was the CEO of the company, so perhaps. But, I don't think he intended to, kill himself and everyone on board.
Definitely not.
There were some safety concerns that were raised by employees. So there are only a handful of submarines that are able to go to those depths, and maybe it was like a dozen or something in the world. And This was the only one that wasn't like certified. And so, he seemed kind of cocky in the interview. I mean, this is just an interview that, CNN aired. He seemed kind of cocky in the sense that, oh, yeah,
Unsinkable, right?
No, more like, I don't really play by the rules. In making this, I didn't play by the rules. Or he's kind of, it hints at not really
taking safety precautions
to industry standards in making this. And so, that's a huge risk. But what I don't understand is, why go on like an expedition like this when, it's uncertified. I'm sorry, but if I have $1 billion and I want to do something like that to go see the Titanic or whatever, I'm making sure the shit is certified as fuck.
You would think.
You could literally hire someone for an entire year's salary and be like, your job is to make sure that this thing is safe. Okay? Like that's the kind of precautions I would take if I was a billionaire that had that kind of money. Right?
Yeah, well, the bottom line too is that's a serious
and make sure
thing.
that shit is safe.
Yeah, that should be the number one precaution, would be safety, you would think. Yeah, like it seems like, I didn't see the interview, but it just seems like from what I'm hearing, it's like even he was like, oh, it's I did my own thing. Is it certified? Not quite.
Yeah, so there's just it sounds like there will probably be lawsuits following.
Oh, without a doubt.
And for probably good cause. They'll probably have some evidence.
But the thing is, too, the other people
follow the patterns and practices of industry. But let's just, hopefully they'll be found and everything will be fine. But
right.
But doesn't look good.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't. As sad as that is.
Here's a nightmare scenario, really quick. At what point do they start thinking about, if I kill this other person, I'll have more air to survive longer?
Damn.
I
mean,
mean,
that's a possibility.
I don't think I want to entertain that prospect.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
that's
but it's a very real possibility that there's some crazy shit going on down there right now.
I mean, you can't rule anything out, so I guess it is possible. You would hope that wouldn't be the case, and you know what I
You would
mean.
hope, but you're sitting there with less than 12 hours worth of air. You know, at that point, you're probably saying to yourself, most fucking murder cases are given up at this point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, the only way we're gonna get any answers is when we find them. That's the only way we're gonna get any answers. Period. Because if that, God forbid, was the case, you're gonna know when we find them. You know what I mean? So let's hope that's not the case. You know what I mean? But it's a messed up situation, and like Rook said, I do see lawsuits being the result of it. That's a rough scenario there.
Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, for real. I guess moving onward, we do have some more news regarding the Trump clown once again, don't we? Now, I swear every time this dude talks, you don't even have to worry about like someone else throwing him under the bus. Sometimes he just throws himself under the bus. And it's hilarious to watch because the sheep that decide to keep following this false prophet just don't care. Like, I don't know. We've had talks about this many times. Like, and this guy does not give a flying fuck about anybody but himself and maybe his crime family. I say maybe because he's so fucking selfish that I think he could give a shit about any of them as well, to be honest. But as far as the interview recently, Mark, I believe you said you saw most of that, right?
Yeah, that interview was quite intense. So, you know, he goes on the interview, spouts the normal stuff he usually spouts about, you know, oh, I won the election and, you know, they should be going after all these people and so on and so forth. And the interviewer, Brett Baer.
Okay.
Yeah, Brett Baer had an interview with Trump and talking about all the stuff that, you know, going on forward about the boxes from, you know, his area. And one of the things he says is like, no, I had to keep going through them. You know, he was like, yeah, but you were supposed to give them up. You know, you were subpoenaed. He's like, no, but I needed to go through them. I had like T-shirts and memorabilia and stuff, and I still need to go through them. If they wanted it back, they should have said, please, please, please.
What?
And I'm like, yeah, this is literally the stuff that came out of his mouth.
Wow.
And the funny part is, all of this is admissible in court because it's from it's from his own mouth, the horse's mouth. This is not like third-party hearsay.
Right.
So, oh yeah. I mean, it's there's a hearsay exception for, you know, if the party, you know, is actually making the statement. Like hearsay is any out-of-court statement that you try to bring into court. And obviously this would be an out-of-court statement. But because it's the actual party making the statement, yeah, I mean, it's fair game. And, you know, he's, you know, being charged. So it's not like they can't find him to test the veracity of that statement or to test the authenticity of that statement, rather. So, yeah, I mean, he did a stupid thing. Either he didn't listen to his lawyers or his lawyers didn't advise him to shut the fuck up when it comes to this. Like, you don't want to litigate this in the court of public opinion because, you know, you're going to put facts out there that, you know, you can hang yourself with.
The part that I find most funny is deep down, he really thinks he deserves to keep those things, all those documents. Like, he thinks they were his, and they're not. Well, to me, that's one of the funniest parts ever. Because, like, he's still touting, like, oh, like you just said, they should have said, please. No, you're not supposed to have it in the first place. Like, such a circus. So I'll tell you, I've been saying Trump circus ever since 2016, and he's proven me right again and again and again. It's crazy, man.
I could go on, but he basically buried himself in the whole interview. The funny part is he comes out of it thinking that he crushed it.
Of course. But that's good in a sense, because let him think whatever the fuck he wants, and then reality's just going to keep proving him wrong. But I guess the other thing we could mention in recent news that's came up was the whole scenario there with Hunter Biden. I'm sure you guys heard about that, right?
Yep. He got a plea deal.
He did.
It's just like, and now, Republicans are all complaining, like, oh, he got a plea deal. He got a plea deal. He got a plea deal with a friggin' Republican judge and a Republican prosecutor who had control of the whole situation.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the prosecution was appointed by Trump.
That is true.
So you couldn't ask for a more favorable thing for Trump and against Biden.
But if you look at the two scenarios as they are, what Trump did is 100% worse. There's no question.
So do you know what he pleaded guilty to? A misdemeanor for not paying taxes, for paying taxes late. It wasn't even I believe he did actually eventually pay, right? And the gun charge, that you got to be more specific. I heard gun charge at first. I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of serious. He had an illegal gun or something? No, he just apparently lied on his permit to get the gun. And do you know what he lied about? One of the things that it asks is are you addicted to drugs? And obviously he did not want to admit that he was addicted to drugs. So
that I read. Yeah, that I remember.
He lied about that. And that's the thing that, he's pleading guilty to. So obviously it's not good to lie on any form, but a drug addict, as we know that he is was, I guess once an addict, always an addict, they say. He's going to struggle with that probably for the rest of his life. But I don't think that kind of conduct is in any way comparable to the conduct that Trump is accused of.
That's what I was saying before.
And it's just a distraction to talk about it anymore in comparison, because it's just, there's just no reason to equate Hunter Biden. It's just another Hillary's emails.
I was just going to bring that up. This is just another page in that book. You know what I mean?
It's just some innuendo that sounds scandalous, and only because Republicans repeat it 1,000 times, that it makes you go, I wonder if there's actually anything to that. But really, it's just them repeating the same generality 100 times.
Basically, just trying to beat it in their heads. And the funny part was, you said, if I'm not mistaken, too, that he paid his taxes late, right? But he still paid them. And then if you remember going back to 2016 debates with Trump and Hillary, Trump says that not only did he not pay any taxes, that he was smart for doing it. So
Right.
What?
I mean, Trump got away with not paying taxes, but I guess that was, or at least some of it was legal. I think the Trump organization, however, that I think his CFO is now in prison, or at least he did get sentenced to prison for, tax evasion or tax fraud on the part of the company. And also I think that was with regard to the maybe charitable donations or something, but, just it had taxes involved as well. But yeah, so what is it? Was it Adam Weisselberg? I think that was the CFO that got sentenced to few months in prison. Could it have been longer? Probably, but I think he struck a deal.
Usually the case when you're them.
Yeah, I think Trump, it might have been smart for him to strike a deal, and he still may.
Yeah,
he may trade in, if he comes close to winning the nomination, then it could be more valuable to get a deal from him to not run for public office, not be allowed to hold public office in exchange for his freedom. That could be, because these are serious charges against Trump, and there seems to be a lot of evidence, including evidence provided by Trump himself. So
basically, that's the funny part. And this is just a few of the long laundry list of other things that are probably coming too. So this is not over. That's for sure.
Oh, but wait, there's more.
There always is.
He's definitely paying the price for his indiscretions, or at least we hope, because it's going to take, juries to convict him and judges to administer justice in a fair and impartial manner.
I feel like that's going to be where you're going to see how real the Republican Party is going to be, because Trump put a lot of those judges and stuff in place too, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he wasted no time shoving his judges in there, and
right. But now, what I was saying too is like this is the point now where, if it comes down to that, which it should, let's be honest, will they do the right thing?
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, the judge that's in charge of the case down in Florida right now, she was twice overruled for her opinions that favored Trump by a higher court. So, if she, ruled, and that being overturned as a judge is not really good. That's basically your colleagues higher up saying, no, you're wrong on this legal issue. And to have that done twice in such a short span of time in cases involving Trump, that's not a good sign for her in terms of her having a future as a jurist. But is that what she wants? Who knows? I mean, Trump is old and is going to be gone. She's fairly young. She'll be around for a while and have an entire career. Now, whether she wants to stay on as a judge, or whether she wants to move on to something else and perhaps cash in on her judgeship, who knows? But right now she has set the trial date for sometime in mid-August, I believe. And so, Trump's going to try to push that back as much as possible. So I don't think the trial's going to commence in August like the trial date suggests, but
it's supposed to be right.
She at least set a speedy trial date. So hopefully we'll be able to see the start of this trial sometime before the election.
I just find it funny how the Trump cult continues too. It's like if you speak out or speak against, you're kicked out of the club for telling the truth. Like, you know what I mean? That's basically where we're at. I mean, look at Liz Cheney, for Christ's sakes. You know what I mean?
Right. Or Adam Schiff, the Democratic congressman from California who's running for the Senate seat there, he was censured by House Republicans. And that's not surprising considering the role he had in sort of leading not only the Intelligence Committee investigation, but also the, impeachment, the first impeachment of President Trump. Apparently, the Republicans didn't take too kindly at that, and as soon as they seized power in the House, they commenced this censure action, which basically has no real effect, but is just like an official admonishment, official wag of the finger at Adam Schiff for his actions. And of course, since the Republicans have control in the House, it passed in a partisan manner, but some of the Republicans just voted present. Which is interesting because, they were there. They, heard the allegations. They were read on the floor of the House. So they were there. They've had plenty of time to think about it. Why were you just present? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because Trump threatened to have any member of the Republican Party who did not support a vote to censure Adam Schiff. He threatened to have them primary. So, wow. I mean, this is just an abuse of political power.
100%.
I mean, you should not take an official act like a resolution to censure a member of Congress. You should not be allowed, or that should not be a welcome thing in our politics, to have an official act of Congress depend on whether or not another member is going to have a primary contest. Like, no, that should not, that just is poison in our politics. And the Republican Party, if they have any chance of being legitimate ever again, they need to address that right now.
I don't think that's going to happen. Let's be honest. It should. I don't.
If they were a legitimate party, they'd address that right now. And
they would. You're right.
They'd censure Trump for even, doing that. For
right.
that the outcome of a vote will determine whether or not they'll support a primary member. Like, that's obviously done. Obviously, if votes are, some of the votes are very important votes, and groups will be like, okay, we're gonna support an opponent or whatever. But that's for outside groups to do. Trump is like the leader of the Republican Party, and hopefully not the nominee, but the presumptive nominee thus far. I don't think that that is an appropriate thing for a president or a presidential hopeful to hang over a party.
No, it gives you that almost,
especially when the whole thing had to do with him and his impeachment.
Right. For real.
Like, that's just an abuse of fucking power.
Entirely. It's just crazy how, like, he's not really even in power right now, but like he still thinks he's like a dictator. And the worst part is the Republican Party falls for it and follows through with it. So what's the future going to bring if that's the case?
Well, they're spineless.
Clearly, but like, it's like wrong and right don't matter. It's just whatever benefits them and whatever.
Well, you knew the Republican Party was spineless when Trump insulted Ted Cruz's wife, and then Ted Cruz went and supported it. Like, how are you gonna have your wife called like ugly, and also not to mention him throwing out the wild conspiracy theory that Ted Cruz's father had something to do with the Kennedy assassination? like, how are you gonna say some wild shit like that, and then still, you still support the guy? Like, Ted Cruz is the most spineless politician out of, they're jellyfish in that fucking party. But
100%.
Ted Cruz is like more spineless than all of them combined.
He is. He's like a little rat. And the craziest part is when there's a crisis in his state.
No. He's not a rat. Rats have spines.
That's true. Yeah. The jellyfish. There you go. The sadder part is when there's a crisis in his state, he takes his family and goes to Cancun.
Yep.
Good luck. Yeah, that's a great, leading politician.
What a excellent way for a vertebrate to show that he's standing with his constituency.
Right? But it's sad because these people don't deserve the power that they have. You know what I mean? Like, and doesn't look like it's going to go anywhere anytime soon, sadly enough. If you look at the roster, I mean, look at these clowns that we have. There's this idiot, Cruz, that we just talked about. Then there's Marjorie Taylor Greene, which we could write a novel on stupidity over. And then Boebert's not much better. And then we got Jim Jordan with a G, you know what I mean? And then who's the other fucking pedophile? The one that's actually a pedophile, too. Why can't I think of his name?
Matt Gaetz.
Matt Gaetz. There you go. Yep. That clown. And it's just funny because these people are so corrupt in their actions and what they do behind closed doors. But it's okay. They can just do that, apparently. And everybody, no one bats an eye. You know what I mean? Everything's fine. And then Hillary's emails comes up and it's the end of the fucking world. What? Like, really? This is where we're at? Like, I don't get it. I really don't get the Republican Party anymore. I never did. And I'll just say that it is definitely not the party in that, like, say, our grandparents remembered. You know what I mean? They morphed into something dictatorship and just stupid overall. And it's not going to get any better, I don't think. There's a couple of them in there that I guess that I would, like I've said in past episodes, that I call like the Republican Classic, which still has some sort of a spine, maybe not a full developed one, but maybe a little less than half. You know what I mean? But like, that's the best you're going to get from that party, from the looks of it. It really is. And that's our show for this week. Strange Planet will have new episodes on YouTube every Friday. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.